Good evening and welcome to the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families Parent Advocate Network. My name is Lyra and I will be your hostess tonight. We have several parent advocates joining us tonight. Currently we have Thomas and Nij as members joining tonight. Before we begin discussing some of the work and progress that is happening around the country and hopefully soon around the world, I would like to give you the rules of this Parent Advocate Network. It is important as adults that we have a good, clean presentation to present to others. And so we ask that you have a quiet and clean space that you can sit or stand in for this meeting. If you join in, we ask that you not use any profanity. We do not want anybody to be put down. No bad mouthing or disrespect, please. No drinking alcohol, no smoking cigarettes, no lewd and crude comments or pictures, images, please. We are here to work on finding solutions and helping parents all over the world reunite with their children, learn to become better parents, learn the important skills of keeping your rights and fighting for your rights. And we are here to talk about all the different projects and how parents are coping with the tragedy and trauma of the loss of a child or children. And we hope that you will join us and become a part of the solution. United, we stand. Thank you for joining us tonight. Nij, Thomas, welcome. So Thomas, you were talking about these forms you and Nij have been working on, and I would like to be able to share this information with other parents so that they can become involved as well in fighting for their rights.
If I guess out of respect for her, I'm gonna turn the wheel and let her put it out there, since it is her involving her, and then I'll put my input in it because it's only right. I don't want to put any information out that she would not want to have out.
And thank you, Thomas. So Nij, you've been filling out some forms?
Yep.
Actually, what I did, I lost all the complaints from the federal court, Supreme Court. So I filed complaint against the judges with the RICO judges team, with all the judges, including the Supreme Court. And of course, the Judiciary Commission denied. So they asked me, when I called them, give me some another time, give me some time to again argue my points. They said send the evidences. That's the same time when I received it, I spoke with Thomas, John, Chris, and all of them gave me one suggestion: file whatever you have in your possession, document it, to show that the judge intentionally did not look into those. And John also, because he filed 2 complaints in the U.S. District Court of his state, Tennessee, he gave me both the complaints, the first complaint and the second amendment, the template, and those arguments are fitting with my arguments also. And the document he showed, the audit he did for the Judiciary Commission in all over 13 states. My state was there. So all that, I'm going to include that. The Judiciary Commission, of course, will deny my complaint whenever I submit in February 21st. So John has asked me parallel to start working on that complaint. There is no particular form. We all have to write down the chronological order. That's what I'm learning from all these gentlemen. Write down everything chronological, what happened in your life and what was being denied, and find the rule. Show the US Constitution rules, because that's trumps on any other rules. And then from my transcript, I will write down what the court told me or how they misinterpreted the law, either for the Maryland or for the US states. So it's a lot of work. Plus I'm packing, I'm moving to a homeless shelter in 2 weeks from here. The lease is over. So I have that also, some emotional pain going on, that I was doing so good with my boys and now boys are not talking with me.
That is very hard to cope with, and I am sorry to hear that you're going through such stress. Do you have resources in your area that are helping you with your move?
Not really, because I have no drug abuse, no minor children, no alcohol issues or no mental issues. So I'm not qualified to get into the grassroots. But because the weather is cold, so they will allow me to sit in the lobby. And they torture us, like they want us to literally get upset. And I never get upset. I'm a very calm person. So after 3-4 days, when I go there, I'm planning to go on 28th February. So 3-4 days, I'll just sit on the chair in the night. And then they will give me a small mattress to sleep in the nighttime in the lobby.
Wow.
So I'm fine. I have done this before and I'm very focused. And this time my son at least wants me to keep the car, the one he just bought, the family for 3 of us. So I will be also sleeping in my car many times, because I go to FedEx to work on my complaint. So I have 2 FedEx here, one in Maryland, one in DC, which are open 24 hours. And they know me. I don't sleep there. I literally work in the night time. So I will be, if I don't get shelter, then I'll go to the FedEx and work in the night and sleep in the morning.
Wow. Well, we're steadfast here, Nidge. I mean, they're throwing all kinds of obstacles in our way, and this last week we had experience with several nefarious characters that were causing trouble, and I think that we've been doing a good job cleaning the mess up there. I'm looking at working with some people in my area that I have been recently contacted by for parents. This individual actually works for an organization called Project Sanctuary, and she helps victims of domestic violence, or even just parents that are having trouble with the Department of Children and Family Services. They get referred there all the time. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with domestic violence. It can be other issues, and they're just all sent to this one place. And it's a nonprofit, sanctuary, and it's not a part of the government, but they do get government funding. And it is interesting and somewhat exciting that this woman is calling me, because she's saying she recognizes that the Department of Children and Family Services is violating a whole bunch of parents' civil rights, and she doesn't know what to do about it. And she's asking for help. And this is an outreach that I was working on for months, because I have put out information and I talk to people in town all the time, and where I live, and so I think it's really important in our mission here as advocates of families in all kinds of sectors of civil rights violations that we connect with the resources that are out there, because there are employees in those different groups or different organizations that do not agree with what's going on either, and they don't know what to do. And
Correct.
you know, here we are, we're starting to come up with real solutions, and we're going to be getting people coming in that want to derail this project for many reasons because of the information that we are providing here. And so I think it's more important now than ever before that we reach out in communities to the people that we know. And if you please excuse me, Dale's calling me. Well, I'll get him right on here. But I'm going to leave with that. Hold on. Thanks.
Thomas, did you see one video came out by the Corey Clark ATL, cheat codes ATL?
I did not see that.
I'll send you, it was on Facebook post. I sent Lyra about this information. That gentleman is so bald. I think he's from New Jersey, and I'll send you. That's a very good argument to find out and inform the Black Rocks where their jurisdiction stays in our case and when they dropped out.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, sure, get it over to me. I always am looking to gain more knowledge. You know, you can. One thing about this is you can never have too much knowledge. If you're in it for the right reason, knowledge is power. And the more I know, the better I am. The better I can help everybody else fight.
Right.
Or, you know, defeat the system, you know, whatever you want to call it, abolish the system, reform the system. Everybody seems to have a different way of looking at it. But, you know, knowledge is power, absolutely. Any knowledge like that, you know, I'm always looking on the internet trying to find stuff. And, you know, quite frankly, a lot of the times I'm on trying to find, you know, information to kind of get in the lives with and just kind of educate people, even though, you know, they might know about it, but there's something that somebody's always going to learn about it.
Correct. And I
So
sent you the link. It's an audio file. If I find the video, I'll send you. I mean, he gave me a good idea, and I'm going to use his arguments in my complaint also.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you know, any knowledge is power in this movement, and the more knowledge you have, the better off you're going to be.
Correct.
And the
So,
more
yeah,
people
absolutely.
that have the knowledge, the better off we're all going to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. There. Hi,
Well,
Dale.
here comes Dale. Welcome, Dale. I'm glad you joined us tonight. How are you doing?
Dale, how you doing?
Hey, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
No. Yes.
No. Yes. Can you, Nish?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. So we were just discussing the civil rights violations and how knowledge is power, and we're here to help parents and families and individuals and everyone know more about their rights. And I was actually called on Friday by a person who is employed at Project Sanctuary, which is an organization that's kind of connected with CPS, but not directly connected with CPS. And this woman wants to meet with me because she has recognized that the Department of Children and Families, CPS, is violating many parents' rights, and she doesn't know what to do. And so we're talking about reaching out to the services that are available in our area and helping you connect, because there are people involved with these services that see that there's something wrong and they just don't know what to do. And we have the information and knowledge to be able to help them.
I mean, Dale, I know we were ultimately waiting for you as to be on to bring the decision and topic up about that. And I mean, I don't see why we shouldn't, but my concern is with the attacks that we've had, my concern is if we're going to help, credit needs to be given where credit's due. If we're going to help them, they're not going to. I'm just afraid that they're going to try taking all the credit for even us helping. As long as they're going to acknowledge and we're going to get credit for what we're doing, I mean, I don't see an issue with that. What is your thought?
Well, it's kind of a moot point because, goodness is its own reward. In essence, it doesn't really matter who takes credit for it, as long as the kids and the families are taken care of. I'm not really concerned about credit, but I just want, if I'm able to whistle and put something in motion, and it helps, incrementally to change things, we've done all we can do. So rather than I'll tell you, my concern is not so much taking credit, but actually coming up with a process that's worthy of credit. That's the magic sauce. And this, I sent Mim a book by Patty McCord. She was a human resources manager for Netflix, and her book was called Powerful, Building a Culture of Freedom and Responsibility. And so the thing we have to do is lock arms and work together for a common purpose, and don't worry about who gets credit for it, but be thankful that we're able to come up with something that helps as a part of the solution. And so the focus that I want to stay on is see what happens because of when things are done expediently, impulsively at the moment, because something has to be done. The problem is overwhelming. It wouldn't matter who you put in the position of child services. The task, with what little resources they have, the task that they have before them is overwhelming. And there is no money for much else besides warfare in our culture. If we want to build cruise missiles, we can get hundreds of billions of dollars. But if we want to take care of families, well, there's no money for that. And besides those, they come up with some rationale that makes no sense. Besides, they're lazy and this and that and the other, and they can't get to the voting booth or whatever malady they want to attach to it. So I still think that we're in that process. We have to build a strong organization that really focuses on providing solutions. And right now, it's a matter of having a habitat where families that are stressed psychologically or financially can have a place where they don't have to worry about coming up with a light bill. The kids are taken care of, and there's a process in place for their restoration or recovery, or just to get an assist so they can help them be on the road to self-sufficiency. And so that buffer, when the family's sheltered like that in an environment and they're not stressed, you take them out of the system because they don't present that domestic disturbance issue or neglect, a mother has to leave the kids at the house because she's got to go someplace abruptly to get to work or to get a kid. The kids get displaced, and there's not a structure there to protect the family. So, and you know, Coalition for Protection, that says it right there. We've got to build that safety net so that this economic steamroller that's coming is going to put all kinds of stress on everybody. We're gonna lock arms and say, okay, we know this hurricane's coming. It's going to devastate us. So what we're now that we know it's headed in our direction, let's put the things in place so that when it comes, we have the least amount of damage. And that's where we're going to build our organization and credibility to have the court system say, well, listen, get a hold of Coalition and see if they can do something for this family. See? And so we're not bucking heads in the courtrooms trying to sort out everybody's rights, which is with 300 million people is an impossibility. But we're actually providing that structure and organization, and it's going to take a lot of organizations, a lot of people, a lot of work before this machine is going to function effectively. And in essence, what we're saying to ourselves, the government's dysfunctional. It no longer serves the people, so we have to be our own grandpas and learn how to take care of each other without the government, you know. And
becoming adults and self-sufficient, and yes,
it's a big step. It's a big change in our thinking, a big change in our behavior. Part of what Patty McCord is saying, we've got a system now that I take care of mine and you take care of yours and all will be well, and it's a miserable failure. You can't have a society where everybody looks out for themselves and all will be well. It's got to be a collective responsibility, and that's where having the freedom to function as individuals and still be responsible for each other. This is a new dynamic.
A new concept, yes.
And
Nidge wanted to ask something. Yes, Nidge.
I mean, I appreciate, Del, that we have a very globally plan. However, when we are talking and when we are implementing, it's going to be maybe another 2 years of time. In 2 years of time, we may lose more kids. So I think we should have some temporary plan also, where if I find out that a family from my county, forget about the whole state, in my county is suffered and the child is going to be to the foster to adoption, we need to have some plan for that immediately to help that mother or father.
I am not disputing at all the things that have to be done by each family and each parent actively working within the system to do what they can to protect their kids and get custody of their children and put their families back together. These things have to happen. The short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals have to happen concurrently at the same time. So, you know, this is a complex thing we're talking about here, and so we've got to take all these things into consideration when we put these organizations together. And once we get organized, it's a matter of organization, and we have a task that each one of us is assigned or as a group. You've got to. We should be looking for people who have legal backgrounds and licensed attorneys. We should be looking to law enforcement officers to see that we can incrementally change these decisions that are made at the site, at the point where the child is taken away from the parent. You know, it's got to be more than law enforcement officers walking up and enforcing the law. Maybe when these situations are involved, where children are involved, there's a civilian in the car that represents the interest of the family as well as the law enforcement officer. and searching for a way together. And this could be done in town meetings with law enforcement officers, because in California, for instance, the legislature declared California a sanctuary state, where they're not going to enforce those federal laws that are focused on getting people deported. So this is the same kind of act in the area of child services, because what's happening is the law enforcement agencies are coming in and just making snap decisions and breaking up families and destroying families, just because it's an expedient thing to do. And so I would think that we would go into the social sciences and the universities and ask for volunteers, those students that are getting their degrees in sociology and psychology, and serve as advocates for families at the point of law enforcement. I mean, this is a bit of a brainstorm.
What I am sharing here, I do want to just take a moment to share this. I apologize, Dale. But this is something that parent advocate Pamela Olson shared with me today. And this is new laws that the federal government has enacted. It was the stopgap measure. And what this says is, the Family First Act is law of the land. A few years back, Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican of Utah, and Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon, the chair and ranking members of the state and on the Senate Finance Committee, merged their child welfare priorities into one bill. Hutch wanted to pressure states to cut down on the use of congregate care and group home placements. Wyden wanted to give children welfare systems more ability to fund services that prevent the use of foster care in more cases. So this is actually now in law, tax law. So it says, these are the seeds from which the Family First Prevention Services Act grew, a bill that now has significantly altered the child welfare financing landscape. The Title IV entitlement, currently reserved for foster care and adoption assistance expenses, can now be used for 12 months of services aimed at helping families without the use of foster care. And it says, well, sort of, many will surely require the assistance of relative caregivers. As opioids, we have this big opioid epidemic, right? And this has been a key source of children being taken away. CPS looks at parents who are addicted to opiates and says, you're not fit to be a parent, we're taking your kids away. Well, a majority of those users are patients. They were originally patients, and the doctors, through incentives that they received over the years from the drug companies, were pushing opioids on people who did not even need to have them. And there's a NPR special on this, and you can look up more information about how the pharmaceutical company actually pushed America to become so addicted to opiates in the first place, and it was for money. Again, following the money trail. Anyway, as opioids and meth continue to wreak havoc on American families, the act will enable child welfare system to tap into 4E funding to get addiction treatment for parents that they determine, with the right amount of support, are not a danger to their children. So too for parents suffering from mental illnesses or basic parenting deficits. On the other end of the spectrum, proponents of Family First hope that its restrictions on federal funds for congregate care settings is enough to pressure states into relying more on foster homes. There is no current limit to how long Title IV-E can be used for such placements. Under the new law, states will have only 2 weeks of federal support granted. I apologize for stumbling over my words, but just because the law is enacted, it doesn't mean that it's going to be followed through unless there is a entity that will be able to take and follow through with what has been enacted. And so this is, we're again talking in multiple levels at the same time, because yes, right now there are children that are being wrongfully removed from their parents every single day, and it's happening in the thousands, you know, and it's a horrible, traumatic experience for everybody, and a majority of the children taken away are never returned, and it, you know, this is immediate. And we recognize this immediate issue, and we want to help those. And so when I get contact from an organization that's already providing services trying to do exactly this, and they don't have the information because they, you know, these people that are being employed are not being trained properly. They're not being trained properly because it costs too much money to train them properly. They don't have the adequate education skills because it costs too much money. Excuse me. But now we have a possibility of being able to tap into this funding to keep these families together. And those organizations may not necessarily know that because they're still tied in with the services that are taking the children away in the first place. It doesn't mean that they aren't open to it. And I think,
Yeah, well, you know, in short, they've realized that they're overwhelmed. They've got a problem larger than they have the capacity to take care of. So the reason why I divert to the universities is because all of those kids and all these schools that are going for these social sciences have as a requirement, as part of their curriculum and syllabus, they have to have so many hours of community service. There's a double reason for having them involved, because what we need is new models. And so and the university is a best place for this to happen. The urgency is there, the time is there, and if we can get an accredited program to live with these families as life coaches that are backed by a university, you know, the psychology department, the medical department, the psychiatrist, and put a program together that's comprehensive, and the nutritionists, and you know, the family, you know, all the social sciences that we have at our disposal in the universities, and then put a real 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week program, and these kids could act as teams. They could be classmates, and there's enough in a classroom so that you could probably cover the 24 hours, 7 days a week with the classroom for a year period. And so, and then what you have is you have all these kids all over the country that are performing a real service. They're not only taking the data and processing it, you're able to say, put little tweaks in the programs to say, well, in a case like that, why don't you try that's what we did, and it worked great. You know, so having a living, thriving entity that has the skills, the clinical skills to really make a big change in the life of families that are stressed. You know, and then adopt, and then have communication and work closely with law enforcement. So these guys that all of a sudden they sign up for law enforcement, and all of a sudden they've got to be psychologists and wet nurses and all the stuff that are beyond, and where they should be out there protecting us from violent criminals. You know, that's really the task, and but they're shorthanded. They don't have a lot of money, and the other resource that we have is the Veterans Administration, because there are a lot of guys that are really trained in a lot of social skills that can be utilized in this area. You know, the ones that haven't been really bent and twisted by combat and PTSD and so forth. So it's a matter of putting these organizations together, Lyra,
Yep.
and that's where the work comes in. And I'm willing to do everything that I can in my area to start putting my feelers out there and seeing what we can put together. And then if everybody in their own place, because we're spread out all over the country and all over the world for that matter, can start working on this together and get these pieces in place so that we can be an effective organization that really solves real problems for families. It'd be a magnificent thing.
Absolutely, you're right, Dale. And everything that we do as individuals, we do get credit for as far as helping those that we are working with individually. Thomas, I want you to know that I recognize you and what you are doing, and I want you to know that I support you all the way and want you to know that nobody at the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families is going to take credit for the work you do except for you.
Well, let's give the
Well,
glory.
well, it's not even that. It's not even taking credit for what I do, as an individual, that because I am part of the Coalition for Protection.
Yes,
so
you are.
It's not even the point of, in a way, yeah, you should take credit because we're all united in one. As a whole, as a coalition, we should all take credit for it.
Well, I think that give the glory to God and let's keep if we keep the families together, that's the big huge thing. And in this the tragedy and the suffering that's going on, just thank God that we were given enough inspiration to be able to do it
And come together. This whole what we're doing here, it establishes our credibility and our credit by talking and sharing and providing resources and providing this network here. We are building this groundwork, and then the fact that we can actually talk about the different issues, about the present issues and the future plans and progress, and that we can do this kind of brainstorming and have these constructive conversations, that establishes so much credibility.
And I'll tell you where the credibility will really come. It'll when these families are kept together, you all of a sudden you're going to hear, thank goodness for Coalition for Coalition for Protection, the Coalition for Protection, Coalition for Protection. So by your fruits you shall know them. We build the brand by what we accomplish and what we do. When we can actually say that we're literally saving families and keeping them together, and we can demonstrate this in practice, then you're going to see we're going to say, the judges are going to say, well, I'd like to have a representative from Coalition come into chambers with me and have a chat about what we can do with this family. So he can put it on paper and get a judge's order, and then we can function without interference from the law enforcement agencies. That's the big deal. That's where the crime takes place. And so we've got to, I keep going back to Buckminster Fuller, because if you really meditate on what he said, he said, you can't change anything by fighting the existing reality. If you want to change something, build a better model that makes the old model obsolete. So if we focus on that and getting this better model and say this is a better vehicle, it's a better program, it's a better structure, and we can demonstrate that by real experience with real families, and we start giving the court systems relief and giving law enforcement relief, we're going to get more support than you can imagine. But we've just got to demonstrate success,
So this is what I'm sharing with everybody because this is what I do for the family rights party as well. And this is, we make notes of what we're talking about so that we can start planning and putting the structure together.
Yeah, well, I would say college students, because we're there, even if it's a first year, undergraduate, he's still going to be under the direction of his professors. And so the program, they'll just be exercising a program. And
Okay.
Dale, while you're on that, even with what you have to say, I don't know what they call it, but it's even interning through it, where they get credit for it.
yes,
That's a great idea.
yeah, exactly. See, they have to, as part of their degree process, they have to perform community service.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is how we introduce this to the educational community and the universities and junior colleges in a way that supplements their educational process, but also does a tremendous service for the whole country. Because these are master, big, huge, overwhelming problems, and that they're perplexed with. So if we can come in with and then you couple this with, we go into the inventories of the banks, and if we've established nonprofit that these people can take write-offs, and say we can sign a 15-year lease, okay, and the person holding the title, they treat it as a non-performing asset, and write that rent that they would normally get under normal cities, they're able to write that off fully so that the family can stay there without being stressed, and to get additional deductions from the utilities for water and gas and electricity. So we can do this without an overburdensome cost, you know, and hitting these deadlines where, well, on such and such a date, if the family doesn't have $500, they're going to have to move out of the house. We want those stresses removed. So it's a habitat, and it's a process, and then developing community gardens, which is there's one elementary or secondary school teacher in Oregon, and he's got his whole class. It takes place in a garden on the school premises, and within that garden, those kids learn all of their curriculum, their mathematics, their biology, their chemistry, their physics, and they learn about they will learn they're connected. They get connected with their environment, and they learn that they depend on the trees, they depend on the water, they depend on the sun, and so we're not uh, uh, superior to our surroundings, but we're interconnected and interdependent. So this develops a cohesive alliance with each other and the environment. We have to protect each other. We have to protect the environment. We have to cooperate. We have to work together, and that gives us that all gives us freedom and makes us responsible for what we do, what we think, what we say. You know, and so it's a cultural change. That we
Thomas has risen his hand. Dale,
hmm?
you wanted to say something? We're talking cultural change, but we
Yeah,
wanted.
yeah.
Yeah, back to, if we can't get uh, like college students or something to as uh, doing an intern for it. It kind of gets me back to your whole plan of the safe houses. If we can't maybe even get, to where we're noticed, get, involved with the more the universities, where they can supply us a house, safe houses, but we can help as a team to help them, and then they can help us back.
Well, where the habitats come in, the university would be so vital for providing program and volunteers, but we can seek volunteers from the senior citizens community that have a background in social sciences and law enforcement, and we can and you know, retired people that can donate so much time.
Yep, that's right.
Where the habitat comes in is, you know, I'm a retired mechanical contractor, and if I could just go to the contractors in my area, the plumbing contractors, the electrical contractors, the carpentry contractors, and real estate developers, and say, listen, I just need one guy for you to come over and help rehab this house, well, you know, in your particular skill, and then we could take underserved youths that are on the streets, and you know, they're from 18 to 25, and bring them in and teach them skills so we can get them off the street. And you know, if we partner with we build this organization of and we keep the program in the universities, and the volunteers are following a family plan for each individual family, and it's structured so it's simple. We're not trying to reinvent the world. Just provide the support the family needs, so they can jump out of the nest and fly on their own. You know, so it's just some families are gonna be have hit a very high bottom. You know, and they're not. Some families their bottom is real low. So you're basically starting from scratch completely. You know, on their rear ends, and really need to be helped up. So
Dale, I'm sorry, I have to stop you there right now. You're going so fast, and like, I'm trying to get some information down here, and I know we've talked about this before, but I want us to be able to have it in writing. So the senior citizens with a background in...
well, ultimately, it comes from the academic level in the university. The programs have to be put together by the doctors of sociology and social sciences, and you know, they know what to do. Well, they just don't have the people, people or the place. If they have the place,
so
here, put the people in it, and here's the program that works. They've got enough success demonstrated already that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to use the resources that are before us.
That's right. Yeah. And Thomas wants to say something. Go for it.
So I'm trying to understand. Are you saying we want to try to get more of older people, like the senior citizens, to be involved with this, or more of our kids?
I'm saying a typical. I'll give you a typical example. A friend of mine, he happens to be a pastor in my church, Peter Harchins, and I'm not just talking about. He's got a master's degree in sociology. He ran a home in New York for women that were recently released from the criminal justice system, and he had a home that had the kids and the mothers living together in it, and it was a large place, but it wasn't just wasn't just a foster care home. It was the parents of the children looking after them under the guidance of clinical experts, you know. And
so what is let me ask you this, and I agree 100% with, you know, doing people that have more experience, but I mean, in my eyes, coming out of college, you know, I didn't want responsibility. I was heck on wheels. I wanted to go get in trouble. So, and you know, if we are going to be doing this and going to be overseeing this, why can't we, you know, have college students, if we're going to be overseeing them, more to give them, you know, experience maybe?
I'd like to answer this one, please. So this is what Dale is trying to explain. As far as there's so many different parts, what this is we're talking about bridging the gap between the ages, because this is part of what is going on in our society and culture today, is that teens are stuck on computers and grandparents are stuck in elderly homes all alone. Okay. There's no connection. The family's totally disintegrated. We're talking about rebuilding the family. We're not recreating a wheel. We're talking about rebuilding the family and building it into community building. So we bring in the veterans, we bring in the elderly. These are the elders that can be involved in watching after the children while the parents go to rehab clinics. This is more about bringing people back into a community. When he talks about the community garden project, this is their families that are so disconnected even with their own community that they don't even know what resources are out there to help them. If they start doing something in the community, assisting others and assisting themselves in the process and learning, they then get to people interested in what they're doing and want to talk to them, and so then a good conversation comes about.
And Lyra, everything starts with an accurate diagnosis. So the first thing that happens is that the family is going to be put under a group microscope by specialists.
Right.
And there's not one size fits all. Everything has to be tailored. And it may turn out that all they need is unconditional love from a grandparent figure, and that could be a volunteer. Just like there's an organization that says the Brother Organization or Big Brothers.
Yes.
And
Big Brother, Big Sister.
So you might get adolescent kids, and they say, well, get one of the big brothers to come in here and mentor this kid and spend some one-on-one time, like a father would, to start filling these roles to make these personalities complete, make these human beings whole, restore their wellness and wholeness.
So if I understand them correctly now, what you're trying to get at is we want somebody. Basically, it's going to be each family's going to have a mentor that's going to be able to help fix the particular areas that the families need.
It's not about fixing; it's about guiding.
That's what I mean.
I want to
helping them fix themselves.
Yeah,
like a coach.
Yeah, exactly, a life coach. And so now the dynamics of every family is different. Some families have really got some real deep-seated problems that prevent them from coming out of it. So that program is going to be tailored to a more clinical, more intensive type treatment, and so other families are saying, well, this family, there are going to be cases where the family has the capacity to live in their own home.
That's right. Yes.
And so they've just gotten sucked into the criminal justice system by default.
Injustice system.
You call it what it is. Law enforcement agencies.
Right.
And so these guys can only they go to work, they put their hat on, they put their gun on, they got their law book and their ticket book, and they aren't the end all to everything, but they catch all the crap, because they're out there enforcing the law, and that's all they can do. That's their job. So and they turn out to be the villains.
And they're not always. Let me tell you a story. When you just said that, actually, when I was driving back from San Francisco, my partner was driving us back from San Francisco, and there was a police car that was going in the opposite direction, right? And he turned around because he thought we were speeding. He was following somebody else at a high rate of speed, and he turned around, and so we pull off, and he gets us on the side of the road, and he says, do you know that you were speeding? And we look at him, no, I don't think so. And he's like, well, and it was a rental car, and he says, well, you've put the doubt on this, and I'm going to let you go with a warning. So there are police officers out there who will listen, not be combative, be straight up and look at you and listen to you and respect you. And we're not trying to be at odds with anybody. We're trying to make things more fair. We're trying to help make things more fair.
And let's face it, there are those police officers who are not mentally equipped to and are psychologically healthy to do their job properly. And so you're dealing with human frailties and human weaknesses, and it's a mixed bag, and sometimes a nasty soup. But
Yes.
so we're dealing with human beings that are fatally flawed, and so what we can do is just try to do as much as we can. So let's not go beyond our capacities, but we have the ability to do some really, really, as human beings, do some really, really extraordinary things. If we just do a little thinking and put the things in motion, so those good things can happen.
And we got to have a good solid plan, and I agree with that. And as far as what I'm doing with this lady that I'm going to be meeting with, it's about sharing information right now with people that want to help but don't know how. And that's what our immediate response is that, and we need to, I believe we should be coming up with, and I've done a bit of it, but I don't have a complete one, of steps you take to protect yourself as a parent, as a family, as an individual, with your rights, know your rights, and know how to protect them. And we need to put together like a step-by-step, if you get pulled over, or if kind of a deal. These are the steps you need to take to defend your rights and to have, the respect of law enforcement on your side. I mean, honestly.
Well,
Yes.
I look at this, Lyra, I look at this just like emergency services, just like we would have an organization for an earthquake, the aftermath of an earthquake, or an aftermath of a mudslide, or an aftermath of a fire. Put this structure in place for families, just for the protection of families.
Right.
And particularly where it interfaces with, and it could be any tragedy. It doesn't mean that necessarily law enforcement. It could be a traffic accident. It takes both parents.
Yeah.
If we can come in there as a support system for the kids and get the family members interfaced with them before snap decisions are made out of expediency. Boom, they take the kids into foster care. Now we're the grandparents, where are the aunts and uncles, and they got to go all through this quagmire to get the kids back in place. After the investigation's held, and so it's gonna take some time, but nothing's gonna change if we don't do anything.
Nothing changes if nothing changes. Nidge, you had something you wanted to say.
Yes, I mean, it sounds very good, but being the victim of the system and what Dale is saying, I mean, it says everything on the book, even in our county of Maryland, or in Maryland, or Tennessee, or North Carolina. Whatever is printed on Google or in their books, they don't follow that way.
No.
Well, if you notice that piece that she wrote about Orrin Hatch, it's risen to the level, a crisis level, where they don't have a solution for it, and the expedient response that they have now is insufficient and actually does more damage than help. See, this is a yeah. It's a real problem, and if you come in with solid solutions from people that are respected in the world of social sciences, believe me, they will listen and they will respond because
No,
they
Not
but
necessarily.
let me tell you, Del, it sounds good. I agree. First of all, let's take my example. I want to help. I want to be advocate. I personally, I really want to save the kids. The parents comes next right now. Because I have personally seen even in the DVC, the
I
mother.
don't think I don't think you can separate the kids from the parents.
Well,
No,
Dale, hold on.
what I'm trying to say that the kids we are losing in the system just because of the federal incentive. That's where the racketeers are involved. The police, the judges, the CPS. Your information sounds good. I wish we can all do it now or later. That's okay. No problem. I'm in this race. But what we are talking currently is that right now, suppose example, when I realized I lost everything and I called the DVC, which is Domestic Violence Center here, where I had taken a shelter, they did not help me legally. I had a mother in the safe home. They could not even help the mother. The father was abusive, and without the legal thing, without the lawyer in the case involved, the kids had to be given away to that abuser. That mother cried because we shared the room. I realized all that later on, what I went through, I called DVC. That now I have empowered myself. I know the system that in Howard County, it's not working. Let me come, let me talk to the victims, either mother or father. You separate them or give me a same group. And I will just empower that first let's protect the kids or let's have a knowledge. What you are saying, without the lawyer in our group, we don't have any food to put anywhere. I'm sorry to say. I have also tried myself in the grassroots where I go and stay there. I literally talk to the people in the lobby. But if I want to do even the group gathering, they are also the resident of the grassroots. I am also the resident. Though I stay in the lobby, they have a room. We are not permitted to talk in a group. So sometimes they refer me out and then we go for a walk and I talk to people. So what you are saying is good, but until we don't have a good lawyer with us in the group, because if you do that and give me some paperwork, I will take that flyer and go to the college universities, educate the professor or the dean that we are willing to work with your students who are graduating or needs hours. But without any
Here's the thing about the law, and I saw it demonstrated with Gloria Allred at a town meeting with witnesses and her presentation of the evidence to the city council that was going to make the decision to change it. This can all happen in a blink of a second if the city council says, okay, this is what we're going to do. And all of a sudden, the whole procedure. Now, before you go in that courtroom, you're going to have people that have the respect of the city council and say, well, who's the expert on family dynamics and family law? And they say, obviously, they've got stacks of paper on their desks, cases and cases and cases, and they're getting more all the time, and they're completely overwhelmed. If they weren't overwhelmed, believe me, Orrin Hatch wouldn't come out with this all of a sudden, well, we're going to change this policy. This is being done under the administrative law and executive privilege. So all it takes is the mayor and the city council, or the county representatives, or the governor and his cabinet, or the president and his cabinet, a federal, state, or local level. So she went in and they said, if a woman gets raped, there's a statute of limitations. And this one city, I don't know which city it was in, but she went in there in a meeting with all the women who had been abused, and they just took that statute out of that city and says there's no statute of limitations on rape. So you could present the evidence in the courtroom in this city, ad infinitum. And so this is now, even though it's happened 15 or 20 or 30 years ago, and this was something that she had been fighting for years and years and years and years. And finally, the circumstances were such that she got it changed. And when they walked out of that city council meeting, boom, they had it was like the sun came out. So it depends. You can do this very quickly. You can change the whole paradigm. And let's just say magically that happened. And the policy and procedure then is, okay, the kids go to a house, not, okay, which both of the parents have access to equally. Okay, then it's determined, then the evidence is gathered between the parents, because you got that issue, and both of them have an equal voice. There's no, you can't speak at any time. You can speak anytime you want to, because you're half of that family. Okay, so first of all, you get your rights back. That has to happen. Secondly, the husband has to be held accountable for something that he done that's against the law. Okay, and then that life coach that's in that house, and it may be your own house. You may not have to, your family may be in a place where you don't have to move the family out of the house, but he's there to observe and report, or she's there to observe and report.
Nidge has a question.
And see the family dynamics, and say, okay, and then after accurate diagnosis of those family diagnosis is arrived at, then they can start a treatment plan that involves everybody, depending on the circumstance. Obviously, we're not going to treat you for cancer, so if it was all you got is a banged up thumb. Every family has to be diagnosed. Nobody's going to make a snap decision about pop is right, mom's wrong, this, that, the other. And this is a process of therapy that you basically, I think you'll have an option. You can either work with in this case, well, let's say you can work with a coalition, keep the family together, and work on bringing the family back to health and wellness, or you can be at the mercy of the police officers. Whatever they can are able to pull out of their rear end at the moment they come in contact with your situation, and that's not beneficial. So the incentive for the families to want to resolve the problem and work on the problem. There may be other issues. There may be substance abuse where the parents have to go get cleaned up before they can even have a cognitive thought process. It's very complex. It's as separate. Each individual family is separate. There may be a case where the family can't, the parents can't resolve their differences. And the marriage may have to it may be decided the best thing for everybody concerned is that these two people not be married, and then they can work out visitation and other things. The main thing is that the parents and the families, everything is being done to keep them together.
Or at least keep, even if the parents don't want to be together, at least keep everybody civil.
Yes.
And Nidge, you had something you wanted to ask.
Sure. In Maryland, we have tried this is, I think, our 9th year or 10th year. We are trying equal parenting voices. So when we enter in the court, I don't care whether we have a substance abuse or we have addictions from any side. What we are asking our council, legislature, to give us 50-50, and then you start taking away the minus points or you start adding. Okay, the point we are having is we are growing in when we are requesting the bill to be passed through the county or through the state. We are not getting support. I personally have gone, spoke about my story, what happened. With that time I had my cases info, everything typed up, gave it to the judiciary commission who was sitting there, the legislature, the governor. Even this bill, we are taking over that. This is the 9th year because the bill, certain attorneys or the whatever the house we call or the senate who's sitting from different county want to support us. They believe that it is wrong. What's happening is wrong. What you are saying, that's what we are mentioning. However, the judiciary commission or the bill people who passed it, he and his right hand, they both are democratic. They don't want to listen anything. They don't want to support us. This is the 10th year. If we go to the state house, we will be again rejected. So what you are saying, we have also mentioned here. We have practically done it. And I personally have explored, literally, I have told my stories to so many, even the governor wife. It's not going to happen like that because maybe, very honestly, I'll tell you, I have a color, I have an accent. I do get kicked out very fast. Even though my husband hurt me, I had bruises, my things were fallen down. He reported, the police officer reported everything in front of me. I had, the photos were taken that I got bruises when he shoved me. However, I did not was bleeding. This is the judge told me, you are lying. Why am I going to hurt myself? Am I crazy person? And my DVC was not approved. I was kicked out from the home. I stayed off the street. So the point you are telling is okay, but maybe when we are having so many demographics.
Okay, I want to repeat what I said. I said the battle that has to go on in getting judges kicked off the bench and getting all of this documentation where your rights were upheld and your constitutional rights were not upheld in the judicial process. We have to get new people elected that are going to embrace these issues and pass the laws that are necessary to change things. Okay, that is a separate component and a separate vital component to all of this. Okay, so I'm not disputing the legal steps that have to be taken, but still, we're out here in the real world, there's not a place, there's not a program, and there aren't the advocates in the legislature to take a dwindling treasury and start spending millions of dollars. So what we have to do as citizens is take that responsibility and build that organization ourselves. And so we're not going to put our mark on a piece of paper and say, well, that's the government's job. No, it's not. It's our job to fight in the courtroom and get the people in office that are going to do the will of the people and protect families. So that is, no matter where you go, there's nothing but work to do. You know, wherever you feel is your place. If you want to be on the front lines in the courtrooms, working with the lawyers and fighting to make sure that everybody's rights are being upheld, that is a worthy cause. Okay, but the problem has to be more comprehensive than that. So what happens when the treasury gets empty? What do we do? Just stop breathing? You know, we are the government. If it's not functioning, if it's a dysfunctional government, we don't want to waste our time fighting it. We want to create the structure so the families are supported.
So yeah, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Dale, but I feel, Nij, what I hear in your story is that you did not have anybody advocating for you in the entire process, and that's what we want to be able to provide here at the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. That's the idea behind it, is that everybody deserves to have advocates, true advocates that care. And it's not going to be like a simple thing, but as we are coming together in this meeting and in other meetings and talking to other parents and other supporters and advocates, it is our individual efforts together that makes us progress and start this process. And we, it's like here in California, I work with the Family Rights Party, and we're working on those legislative issues and those judicial issues and those public political issues. And we're actually going to be meeting tomorrow evening for another meeting.
I think, Lyra, one really effective way is pick out one judge who has the most egregious record where it comes to protecting families and get him kicked off the bench.
Well, and this is the issue here in this in this district, and this is what I shared before, is the Judicial Accountability Review Board. Those judges don't care. They don't care what anybody says. Women, mothers have come with tears, and the one woman with that urn of her child's ashes after 7 days being placed with the abusive father. And Nij, I understand your frustration in thinking, oh, we're just doing the same thing that's already being done, and it you can take things from one system that work and leave the rest. And if it doesn't work, then we need to be looking at ways to make it work.
Yeah, and once there's an organization in place that's targeting those people that are and here's where the judges, they all sit down at the country club when they're on golf on Sundays, basically tell each other, if there's not a solution, there's not a problem. So that's where the deaf ear comes from. Look, there's no way we're going to solve this. We can't. Ruling in your favor isn't going to change anything. So we're left with the monster we've got. That's all we can do is administrate the law as it is with the money we have. So it's up to the citizens to step in and fill that vacuum and say, no, when a woman with a family comes into your courtroom, you pay attention, period. And she's got rights. And if you don't protect those rights, your ass is going to be out of here. Okay, period. Now, when you come in with some authority, right now you have none. They don't have to pay attention to you because you're feckless and impotent. So to build that potency is what community organization is. The community has to be organized to protect itself against the state. Which it's not now.
Against government abuse, against judicial abuse. I mean, so this is what we're doing here, is establishing that community.
Yes.
And yes, we need lawyers. We need a legal team. It maybe not a lawyer per se, could be a paralegal, but somebody who has experience. Yeah. And yes, we need people who are willing to dedicate some time to helping put this organization together in a very foolproof structure. We don't, we don't want to have a situation where
if you want a model to follow,
accountability.
if you want a model to follow, the military is a good model because they are highly organized and follow a step-by-step procedure to accomplish an intended outcome. And so that's what lacking. There's no cohesive alliance in the community of families, to where they're all working together for a common purpose. Because it's just like the law of one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. So we have to come to the defense of people that are being victimized.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Nidja has to go, and Thomas has gone, and I think we're going to have to wrap up tonight's meeting a little bit early. And I'm glad that everybody has joined us tonight. And I just want to reiterate here that we're talking about community building and creating a network that's going to help support all of its people. And this is not a quick fix. There is no quick fix to which is broken.
Barack Obama 101, community organizing. This is what he did in Chicago, in the ghettos, in the inner cities, and getting people organized for a common purpose. And this is we're taking a rugged individualism and trying to mold it into a cooperative effort for everybody's benefit.
This is our allegiance to each other and to the children that are in dire distress all over the world. And our pledge here is to help children and families live a more peaceful, sustainable, and wholesome life. And community building is a big part of that. And
therein is security.
And therein is security. And Nidj, you have every right to be distressed about the children today that are in harm's way. We are all very distressed about that. And like I said a little earlier, I think that we need to be putting together like a list with step-by-steps for procedures for parents to take in order to get their children back and to regain their
follow.
And to maintain their civil and parental rights, and for children and families to be in a more wholesome environment altogether.
Yeah,
we can work on that.
We're very much like computer scientists that are trying to develop the algorithm to affect change.
Yes. This is hacking on a different level. There's computer hacking. What we're doing here is we're society hacking.
Yeah.
We're hacking, and hacking doesn't mean breaking down. Actually, hacking is creating something, with the information that we have and putting it into something that is going to be received by.
Well, it's a natural process because we examine ourselves how we see a problem, and we do something, and then we say, well, there's a better way to do that, and then we do it a better way, then we find there's a better way to do that. So it's a never-ending algorithm, So we're at this stage right now, after 200 years of rule of law. We've got all the evidence that we need of what we had put together 200 years ago. What is it evolved into? What is the result? So we're not happy with the results. So we got to go back and redo the structure, so it gives us the results that we all want.
Yes, amen to that. And so we'll keep, you keep strong there, Nidj. I am praying that everything will be resolved in your housing stressors.
Nidj, this is just plain old perseverance. We just got to keep working on this problem together, and don't give up hope, and then that your sacrifice, everybody's sacrifice here, is going to be beneficial. it's going to result in something and real benefit and real change for everybody. You know, we didn't all suffer our fates for nothing.
So I
Nidge,
want
you
to,
know what?
yeah, go ahead.
Nidge, I just want to say, you know what? You might not have anybody that's there close with you, family or nothing, but you know what? We all look at you as family. You know, we will back you right through your hardest times in life, through your better times in life. That's what we're here for.
That's right.
You fall down, we pick you up and carry you. I've already told one of the advocates because she has a problem with her leg, and she loves to be an advocate and fight. And I told her she needs to get better, and she keeps saying, "No, I want to fight." I said, "Well, you know what? If I have to pick you up and carry you all the way, we're gonna do it together."
Amen.
That's right.
There we go.
So
Right.
I just, it hurts me when the kids have been abused, you know.
No, it's very painful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I have to leave now. Good night.
Okay, we'll
Thank
see
you.
you
Good
guys.
night, Nish. I'll talk to you soon. And Dale, please wait. We have a little bit more business to talk about.
Okay.
All right. So I wanted to first end this meeting. This is our public meeting of the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families Parent Advocate Network. We are here to help, and we will support you in every way that we can. And you can count on us because, I mean, united we stand, and we are here for each other because this is how we build communities, is working together. And we are currently looking for some legal representation. We are also currently looking for graduate students or college students who are seeking an alternative way to volunteer and assist parents and families to heal and become more wholesome and create a wholesome environment for their children. And we want you to join us, please. We meet every Saturday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. usually, unless we have a shorter meeting. And we welcome everybody. Nobody will be turned away. This is how we do it.
Amen.
Thank you so much. And check out the continually updated information located at the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families. Our website is www.coalition4, that's the number 4, protection.com. And for $5 donation, we provide you with a ribbon, and I unfortunately don't have them right now. I'm out, but we have little ribbons that we send out with a thank you card, and you will see progress. Thank you, and have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
All right, so hold on, everybody.